Welcome into the Sunday Smash. Here we go. Let me fix my camera. What's up, Ira? How the hell are you, baby?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm drinking the good stuff. I like to call this the Dos Artes of beers, of light beers, and so that's what. So I'm good. That's what happened to me in the fridge tonight.
So this is a little Two Hearted Ale. It's my favorite as I watch my Bucks up 27-10 here with about 10 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. That's the hard part of doing the Sunday Smash, as much as I love it. If the Bucks play at 4, which they sometimes do because they're the reigning Super Bowl champions, Ira.
And it's also, is that game taking 4 hours? Because I was in the car and it was halftime, like after 6. I mean, let's get it going here, Tom. Let's move the clock.
So it started at 4:25, and it's 7:02. So I think we're okay. It just feels that way. But yeah, I know what you're saying. NFL games are that way in general. Yeah. So listen, we've had a busy week, crazy times, and we've got a really good thing going on Wednesday all day long. So I want to promote this because we should. A lot of times on the Sunday Smash, we are not, self-promoting whores. We're not. But
sometimes we are, not all the time.
Yeah, but today I think we should be because there it is, National Signing Day Live, 7 hours of live coverage and analysis, building up to the Jeff Cameron Show at 1 o'clock. Prior to that, all of our experts all the way through, letting you know who did what, wins, losses, the whole deal. And then at 1 o'clock, I come on and we'll talk. And I'm sure I'll have Ira on as always, and Mike and anybody else for that matter, talking about the day that was and still is. So there'll be a lot going on that day. And I know how important it is. So it's important to point that out. Wednesday is going to be a big day on Warchant TV.
Yeah, and Florida State obviously had a big recruiting weekend this past weekend. Just wrapping up right now. We actually just put up some stories on the website. If people haven't checked it out yet, over at warchant.com. Julian Armella, the nation's #1 offensive tackle, had his official visit, brought his mom up. It was really a big weekend for her to see FSU's campus and meet the coaching staff in mass for the first time. And that sounds like that really went well. Austin's got a story up on that. And then Michael's got a story up about defensive back out of Niceville, Zari Thomas, who visited as well, 4-star defensive back. Who, it's funny, man. Like back in the summer, I don't do a ton of the recruiting coverage, Jeff.
Right.
But back during the summer, I went to FSU had their 7-on-7 camp.
Yep.
And so I went out there, and he was out there, and with his team from Niceville. And I went up to him. All the FSU coaches were still trying to talk to him, even though he kind of eliminated FSU at that point. But I kept seeing, different coaches talking to him and FSU's players talking to him. So I was like, hey, man, are you still considering Florida State? And he just kind of looked at me like, no, dude, like I'm not interested. But what happened was Florida State's had a more promising season than probably he expected after last year. And then some coaching changes. He was considering, I think LSU and Florida and Georgia Tech, and they all have either had coaching changes and or a really disappointing season. So now Florida State's back in the mix. They get the official visit, so you can read about that at Warchant. And then there were other. They had a Oregon transfer receiver. Micah Pittman was here. We put that story up earlier today. So plenty of recruiting coverage to get you ready for Wednesday over at warchant.com.
So what are your feelings, man? Some people have asked about it. I got to tell you, seeing the missed shot at the end there against South Carolina, Ira, I'm really concerned.
They're 5-4.
They're not good, man. They're not good. They got a lot of problems. The offensive rebounding for South Carolina in this game was the difference. We can go on and on and on. They had a look at it at the end there, and it should have. You got to hit that shot. But I mean, it's heartbreaking to watch this team right now. This is tough.
Yeah, offensive rebounding was a problem last time out as well. I mean, they just have not done well in that area. But also, kind of confused a little bit in some of the things they're doing rotation-wise. Mm-hmm. I thought Naheem McLeod, he gave them some good minutes in the first half, just like he did in their last game, and they sat him. Like they just won't play him for long stretches, and they go small, and they just get killed in the boards. This was a game where South Carolina just repeatedly beat them off the dribble, which when they don't have a rim protector, which they don't right now, if they're not going to play McLeod because Tenor and Gam is out, people are just getting to the rim. South Carolina scored a ton of points in the paint, and Florida State didn't shoot well from the perimeter again. And I don't think that this team is less talented than we thought. They just, some of these guys just have to start shooting better than, Anthony Polite last year, and I'm not putting it on him today, but Anthony Polite last year shot over 40-something% from three. And I think he's around 25%. Wyatt Wilkes has shot better in the past from three. So those guys have to start hitting shots, and then they've got to get somebody to protect the rim. And Tenor and Gom's out for another few weeks. So I would play McLeod more. I know he's going to make mistakes, but at least you have that presence to make teams think twice about getting to the rim, because right now people are just going and attacking it all day.
Jeremy, thank you so much for your contribution. Go Noles and Sunday Night Smash. Sunday Smash indeed. Warchant. Yeah.
Thanks,
yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah, no, it's hard to watch us right now. I feel like we're reeling. That's a basketball team that I'm really, really worried about. So as an aside, let's go back to what people were asking about at the beginning. There's this thought that Dillingham's leaving. Ira, your thoughts on this?
So, yeah, Bruce Feldman reported that Dan Lanning has interest in him. It's something actually Michael had heard about a couple days ago when the first report came out on Friday that Dan Lanning was a candidate that was likely going to get the Oregon job, that Georgia's defensive coordinator was likely to get the Oregon job. And then that report was kind of squashed. But Michael was hearing it in recruiting circles over the weekend that if Dan Lanning got that job, that he'd likely want Kenny Dillingham to come with him because they coached together at Memphis. They're really good friends. They've been friends for a long time. So when Feldman reported, it wasn't really big news. And I, from our perspective, and I think I'm sure Mike Norvell was very well ready for it. To me, I think it's going to totally come down to where Kenny Dillingham wants to be next year. If he wants to be on the West Coast again, he's a West Coast guy. If he wants to be on the West Coast, if he wants to be back with Dan Lanning because they're friends, or because he sees that roster and feels like there's much more potential there, then maybe he wants to go. But I don't think this is going to be one of these where there's negotiations and renegotiations and battling back and forth. If you look at Mike Norvell's track record, he's had a lot of assistant coaches leave. And Kenny Dillingham left him before to go to Auburn. So I would be surprised if Mike Norvell goes to the administration and says, hey, we need to counter, we need to do this or that. Obviously, they've got some continuity right now. You'd like to keep that. This is not a great time because of signing day coming up in a few days. But I honestly think, and I haven't talked to Mike Norvell about this, obviously, but I would be surprised if this is any kind of back and forth. I think it's going to be Kenny Dillingham. Do you want to be here? Do you want to be there? And then you make the decision. But I don't think this is going to be, when Jimbo was here, a lot of times that coaches would play other offers against each other and you'd have this kind of back and forth. I don't think it's going to be that. I think if he wants to leave, he can leave. If he wants to stay, I think Mike Norvell will be happy to keep him.
So this is not the thing that people accuse us of talking so much about Jimbo after all these years. But for example, Elko wanting the Duke job, I made a joke about it last week on the air. And Ira, I know you tweeted about it. You got to be kidding me, right? It's
where coaches go to die.
Well, not just where coaches go to die, but it just tells you it's untenable. It's so difficult to work for that guy, and he's got a lot of strengths, but it's so hard to work for him. And it's not surprising to watch people run for the hills. In terms of Dillingham, Norvell has always told us since the day he took the job, hey, I want my guys to be sought after. I want my guys to be recruited by other people. It can be difficult, but that means they're doing a good job. And I'll always have another guy ready. I'll always be looking to the next guy because I expect that my coaches are going to do such a good job that other people are going to want them. So I bring that up to say this. there is a really disillusioned part of this fan base that has no idea what they're talking about when it comes to Dillingham. That dude's going to be a head coach. That guy is really bright. He found a way to scheme up a one-dimensional offense and find all kinds of one-on-one matchups, which is impossible to do when the other team knows what you're doing. And yet he did it consistently. It's why other people would want him. Now, if he leaves, is it at the end of the world? No. But, I would really like to see Florida State have some continuity. So it would be unfortunate in that way.
Yeah, no, from a continuity standpoint, for sure. And I like Kenny Dillingham. I think he does a nice job. But I also think that, he learned from Mike Norvell. I think that, somebody asked, there was a question about whether or not he'd want more autonomy at Oregon maybe than he has here. I think that's possible. Kenny is the play caller here. It's 100% fact that he calls the plays, but Mike Norvell's it's his offense overall. He's the head coach. He's going to have game plan, a lot of input, and he's going to have more direction. Whereas if he went there with Dan Lanning as a defensive coach, then obviously the offense would be Kenny Dillingham's to make decisions. But I don't, I don't know. It's not like he's, to me, like Randy Sanders. When Randy Sanders was here under Jimbo and he wanted to call plays, Randy Sanders was towards the end of not the end of his career, but he had a very mature career. He had been a coordinator at Tennessee and other places. He didn't want to just be here holding a clipboard for Jimbo Fisher. He wanted to call plays, and Kenny Dillingham gets to call plays, and he's only early 30s. So it's not like there's some huge time where he has to go prove himself. What I'm saying? Like, it's not like if I'm like Norvell, again, I just think you look at Kenny Dillingham and say, look, man, do you want to be there or do you want to be here? I don't think it changes the direction of Florida State's football program if Kenny Dillingham leaves. Mike Norvell has hired really good coaches every year since he's been a head coach. So I'm not too overly concerned about it, except from a recruiting standpoint in the middle of this process right now.
Yeah, I think that's the whole thing is recruiting. Like, would it affect you in recruiting? No, and by the way, some people have brought up, they're like, wait, it's a lateral move. Yeah, well, as Ira pointed out, the guy's from the West Coast. So, if you want to be on the West Coast, then maybe you do. I don't think it's a money move. I don't think it's a money move. I think in terms of Florida State will pay. It's not that. There's this crazy misnomer that Florida State doesn't pay. Florida State's athletic department has paid and paid big for coaches. That's not a problem. I think, obviously once they get out from under Willie, that'd be helpful. It'd be more money, but that's not a deal. Like that's not the reason people are leaving or coming or going in terms of Florida State. But yeah, if he leaves, he leaves. I don't know. I just would be worried about recruiting if it happens, if only because there might be a couple of kids that really feel good about him. But it's a fascinating time. Let's go back, Ira. We haven't done a Sunday Smash since all the athletic director stuff happened. So we both know that was a wild ride. We both know there's a lot of politics involved in that. We both know there's a lot of weird things that were involved in that. I think at the end of the day, and I know you've got great sources and I've got great sources for this particular story. I actually do think in retrospect, Florida State did dodge a bullet. Do you agree?
I don't know for sure. I think if you mean it from the standpoint of maybe Vince Tyra wasn't going to be committed for several years, then I guess that would be your concern. I don't think it was a dodging a bullet because he wouldn't do a good job. I think, but yeah, if you accept a position, which is my understanding, he accepted the job, and then
by the way, he played himself, Ira. He played himself, and I think you documented this on Warchant.
Well, he accepted the job. Then he gets wind that Louisville's president is going to leave, and then now he wants more time and he's going to think it over, and he's got a couple of decisions to make. And Florida State just moved on. From what you were saying, yeah. Look, at the end of the day, I think a lot of us thought Michael Offord was going to be the AD, and they had an opportunity to hire somebody they thought could do at least as good of a job, maybe a better job. Plus, you'd theoretically keep Michael Offord running the boosters, and then you'd have both of them in place. That didn't work out. So you promote Michael Offord to AD. So, I think it's, Alford's he checks the boxes that you want an AD to check in this time frame. He's connected. He's a very good fundraiser. I mean, that's probably his greatest strength. He's a guy who's worked a lot of corporate deals when he was at Alabama and Oklahoma. He's helped build facilities. I mean, there's nothing – when you look at Michael Alford and say, what did we want in an AD? He checks all those boxes. The only reason they kind of got diverted was because they were so impressed by what they thought Vince Tyree could do. And, whether they dodged a bullet or not, that could be true. But I think the biggest thing is they ended up with their strongest AD, going back to Dave Hart.
Well, yeah, they have not had a real AD since Dave Hart, and I've said that numerous times that everybody that played the role of AD after Dave Hart they were restricted with what they could do. It's not a personal shot at any of those gentlemen, but they really couldn't do anything. So you finally had an opportunity to hire an AD with some clout and authority, and so that's why it was an important hire. The reason I worry that they dodged a bullet, or I say that they may have dodged a bullet, is that anybody dumb enough to play themselves out of $1.2 million, Ira.
Yeah, I feel in the private sector he's probably going to make pretty good money.
He's a hedge fund guy. He's going to make a lot of money. I understand all that, but I don't know that was his initial play. Like, I think he was trying to play one against the other, and fucked it up.
That's very possible. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels that way.
Yeah. No, I hear you. You guys, the Bucks falling apart here, Jeff?
Oh yeah, they're trying to lose the game. The Bucks are trying to lose the game. They were up 24-3. They dominated the game. They've been the way better team. Buffalo's a mess. And then they just skirt around this entire game, and now it's 27-24.
27-24.
Yeah, my Bucks lead. But my guess is that the Bucks go down here and score and win the game, and it'll just be all the more heartbreaking for Buffalo fans, including Tom. Tom, I see you, buddy. Hang in there, man. You guys are fighting hard. I'm proud of you. You've really battled back like the little scrappy bunch that you are. But at 7-6, you'll probably be out of the playoffs. That's okay. That's all right.
What are your thoughts about Randy Shannon joining the staff? More news this week. Joining the staff as a full-time assistant coach and co-defensive coordinator. Yeah.
Well, I've never thought much of Randy as a coordinator at all. I thought he's been pretty awful his whole career.
Come on, man.
But I will tell you this: I think the continuity is good, and I think the ability to recruit is important. And Randy ran a 4-3 over cover 2. That's what he ran his whole life. That's what they did. They had better players for a long, long time, and you could do that. I've never seen innovation out of Randy. No, whatever. I don't know what you want me to say about this. I don't know that they were looking for somebody to come in and revamp the entire defense. I think Mike Norvell hired Adam Fuller to be the defensive coordinator originally. I think Randy Shannon brings a lot of things to the table. I personally do. I mean, I think he brings not just recruiting, but also player relations. I agree with that. And, a solid, I think another guy with a solid reputation that helps you in the state of Florida when it comes to recruiting. So, I don't disagree with that. That's the total plus of the hire, Ira. It's not a schematic advantage, but yes. But I do think he's a guy who had a lot of input this year on the scheme side. And particularly, again, not necessarily being, the next, I don't know who the next genius Bill Belichick or whatever, but a guy who could kind of shore up deficiencies and kind of become more sound. I think early in this year, when they were having a lot of those blown coverage in the secondary, it seemed to me like Randy Shannon started having a little bit more vocal role. He couldn't coach the players, but you could watch him during games be a little bit more vocal with the other coaches and tell them what he was seeing, and it seemed to help them a little bit with what they were doing on the back end. So I think it's a plus, man. I really do. Again, I don't think he's going to kind of just change what they do schematically, but I think he's a big plus. Well, I think it's a fair way to assess it. Yes, you and I agree more than we don't. I'm just saying, like, that guy's not changing anything about what you do schematically. But if you were looking for that, then why are you keeping Adam Fuller? You know what I'm saying? Right. Yeah. No, I agree. And connecting to people and also connecting to people in South Florida. And, that's very, very important.
And also connecting with his staff. I mean, the fact that Adam Fuller is not threatened by him at all, the fact that they get along really well, the fact that he and Odell get along really well, the fact that, that staff, again, I just feel like he's been an integral part of that staff. So when you talk about continuity, this is another way to do it. Is Buffalo winning this game now? Is that
no. They're not. Tampa has the ball. They're at the 50-yard line. See, this is the only time the smash becomes a problem, Ira.
When the Bucs are clinging to their game,
So when the Bucs are trying to F up a win, here it's 2nd and 6. They hand the ball off. Nope. Brady rolls out. That's a long pass. Had him, missed him, 3rd and 6. All right. So what happens is, I'm watching back and forth on this game.
How much time is left in that game, Jeff?
3 minutes and 20-something seconds.
Oh, you got
Brady had Godwin and he missed him, which could have sealed things. But, this is how it goes. So it's funny. Sorry, I am distracted.
Somebody in the comment, Jason in the comments mentioned that he thinks it's a chess move since Chris Ball is now at Miami and it strengthens FSU down there. Look,
I agree with that.
And I think it's the Cristobal and Miami thing is going to be interesting, but I don't know that you can lock down Miami. First of all,
first down Bucks, but there's a penalty. I think it's going to be holding on the Bucks. Let's see.
Oh man.
So wait a minute. We got 3 minutes, 22 seconds to play. The Bucks hit a 3rd down but now there's I see flags on the field. I can't figure out what the call is here, Ira.
All right, we're gonna have to mute you. You just go away, and I'll just talk to the people in the chat.
So what do we got here? Here, I'm gonna give you the call. We got a holding on the defense and a holding on the offense. These penalties off.
Replay the down.
Replay 3rd down, buddy. Replay 3rd down.
So reliable resellers here, Jeff says he watched highlights of Travis Hunter in the state championship game in Georgia, and good Lord, that kid lived up to the hype.
Oh, dude, he's a freak. He's a freak.
He had a nice day in their state championship game.
So let me ask you a question. So Florida State fans, and I understand this, by the way, I kept seeing all these reports from people who are like, he's going to sign with Georgia. He's going to pull a whippity-doo. Here we go, 3rd and 6. Ira, Brady in the shotgun. He's got time. He pats. He's sacked. Buffalo with the big sack. It's 4th and 12. The Bucs will punt it away with 3 minutes to play, and here come the Bills.
Poor Tom Mortner and a few other people are complaining because you're ahead of them. You're getting you got to feed. They're probably streaming.
Hey, Tom. Tom, I just gave you really good news, buddy. You guys are getting the ball back. The Bucs are going to piss away the game. But
back to Travis Hunter. Yeah, man. Look, I think people are going to be nervous until he signs. When you're, you've got the number 1 recruit in the country planning to come to your school. He's been committed since March of 2020. So to me, if he were to decommit anytime between now and Wednesday, certainly if he did it on Wednesday, I mean, who wronged you, Travis? If you're worried about that, you have to think he's trying to somehow screw FSU. And I mean, there's no indications of that whatsoever. If he was going to decommit, you would think it would have happened months ago, maybe when Florida State was 0-4 and Georgia was number 1 in the country. So, I mean, you never say never. You never know what packages arrive on somebody's doorstep and maybe change opinions. But yeah, I would be stunned if it happened, especially again at this hour after you've been committed for almost 2 years. To do it to Florida State at this point just doesn't make a lot of sense. But he's a really nice player. But the one thing, man, I'm curious your thoughts on this though. Corey thinks, I think Corey thinks his WAR is 2. I think Corey thinks he's going to win games for them next year. I'm not so sure about that. I mean, he's a DB receiver skill guy. Maybe can do some stuff in the return game. I don't know that where Florida State is as a program right now. It's great to have him. You want to have him, but I don't know that that's going to be the difference between wins and losses in 2022.
Yeah, year 1, he might listen. If you could have somebody return punts with any degree of regularity, that'd be good. I don't know if he's that, but maybe he is because he's an elite athlete. If you can play both ways, that's huge. I want him to play offense here. I think it's really important that he play offense here. So does Rick Cotton. I would just tell you that, I think he's a difference maker. I wouldn't put it at 2. I might put it at 1, though.
Not even sure I'd do that. Maybe, but
Maybe at 1, which, by the way, Ira, to your point, if you put a freshman at 1, that tells you he's unique, because there aren't too many incoming freshmen that you'd put a WAR at 1.
Unless it's a quarterback. Again, that's the issue.
But even then, Ira, he has to be transcendently good at quarterback, like Jameis.
I agree, but that's where I just think I just don't know how much of an impact a corner/receiver. Jalen Ramsey was great, but he was great, especially on a team when he came in 2013, a team that was unbelievable, and he came in and got a starting job from day one.
Right.
If Jalen Ramsey came into this Florida State football team, I don't know that he wins them football games. That's all I'm saying. To me, if you get an elite player like
this team, yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I don't know that they have so many other issues that I don't know that one guy is going to push you over the edge. But obviously it's huge to have him. It's huge for Florida State to have that happen. From a prestige standpoint, that's going to be when ESPN and all the networks break down National Signing Day. Well, where did the number 1 player in the country go? Oh, he went to Florida State. That's nice. That's a good story for FSU.
Hey, so you and I have not had this conversation, and I have a feeling that it'll be a more civil conversation than the one that I could have with Corey. What do you think about the Johnson brothers? Do you think it's something that could happen? And what are your thoughts? And I mean this legitimately, non-argumentatively. What are your thoughts on the tandem? Like, first of all, he's the best tight end recruit in the country, so right. You want the brother for sure.
For sure.
I want Max. I think he's a very good player, but I also think he's a good enough player that he comes in and he challenges Jordan. So here's where I'll give the Jordan Travis lovers credit. Jordan probably wins the job, but he will have to fight for it if Max comes in. And to me, I think that's what you want. Now, do you think that scares off people? Do you think that offends Jordan? Your thoughts on all of that?
I'm trying to see, what year did he sign?
So his freshman season, he beat Florida in Gainesville, the famous shoe game.
So that was last year. So he was a freshman last year. So he's
but now by the way, the reason he didn't come here was Willie Taggart.
For sure, 100%.
100%. The reason he didn't come here was Willie Taggart.
And maybe somebody else would have beat out Florida State, but the reason Florida State was never even in the mix,
never really, even consideration, right?
And which you can't really blame them too much, the dad too much. My whole thing with any quarterback transfer was I just felt like they wouldn't want somebody really young that would scare off AJ Duffy. This guy, he was a freshman during the COVID years, so he was a freshman again this past season, but he will be in his 3rd year in college, and you would assume he's not looking to be in college for 4 more years. So, that way maybe you could spin it, to AJ Duffy, or, his process is going to take much longer because, he just announced his transfer last week. He hasn't really taken visits. AJ Duffy in this 2022 class are going to sign on Wednesday. So, not that you're trying to double, pull a fast one on Duffy, but if Max Johnson commits later, a month later or 2 months later, then it's not that big of a deal. AJ Duffy's already signed, and here he could leave, but you'd like to think he would stay. So from that standpoint, yeah, man, I'd be all for it. Jordan, every coach that's any good will always say the same thing. It's my job to bring in the best players I can bring in. It's your job to beat them out. And so you can't have any player hold you hostage that you can't bring somebody in. So I like Jordan Travis, but I wouldn't have any hesitation to bring in Max Johnson to compete with him. I would be a little concerned again, just because he's young, if it scared off AJ Duffy. But the way it's probably going to work out is Duffy's going to sign on Wednesday, and you wouldn't even have to worry about it till later. So yeah, I would take him, especially, it's 2 reasons. One is that tight end. First of all, Max could be really good. We'll see. The tight end's got a chance to be really, really good. I also think it would be good to have Brad Johnson involved with the program. That's
agreed.
And good guy, NFL, veteran. You'd like to establish that connection, which has kind of been lost now the last couple of years because his kids haven't been coming this way.
So I think it's important on a lot of levels, and you just nailed all of them, Ira. Good job.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, no, I think you did. Third
Jordan,
down. We gotta stop there. Fourth down for the Bills coming up. Here's the game.
how many? Fourth and what?
4th and 4. 4th and 4. $1:47 to play.
Nothing
game
to worry
on the
about.
line.
Nothing to worry about, Jeff. You guys got it. Your defense isn't giving up a fourth down.
Yeah. This is ridiculous. I have to sweat through this nonsense. I'll give you the rundown. It's 4th and 4, everybody. Hey, listen, if you're behind me, hang in there. Don't watch. But I will tell you, I think it's important if they can get the tight end that comes with Max,
Right.
who I like a lot. You already know. I think that competition is awesome. They finally have a tight end. They can get rid of the other 15 tight ends. It would be very, very important. I think it's a win-win, Ira, in every way. All right, here we go. You want me on the call? Here you go. I'm on that wall. Let's do this thing, everybody.
Tom
on the line.
Tom Warner's checking out. He can't do it.
Tom, you check out. Check out, Tom. Here you go. And in the shotgun, Allen goes back. He's got time. He throws. The ball is caught at the marker. He's got it. He's got it by a yard. He caught it before the marker. He stretched out and got the yard.
Where are they out on the field?
They have the fucking they have him down, but he stretched out and got it, Ira.
Where are they out on the field?
They're at the 50. So 1st and 10 in a 3-point game with $1:40 to play.
This is not conducive at all to a show talking about Florida State and college athletics. I mean,
no, but the Sunday Smash, we're allowed to talk whatever we want.
We are. But
all right, listen, I'll get back to it. 1st and 10, Allen to throw, lofts it up down the left side. He's got a man. He missed him. 2nd and 10. That was a touchdown, but he missed him.
It's a good thing. I mean, you guys are going to win the division, right? I mean, like we're
up 4 games in the division.
So we're
but it's positioning. It's positioning. So Ira, when your team is on the verge of winning back-to-back Super Bowl, you're trying to do everything you can to make sure that you solidify home field and the whole deal. The Bills are just fighting to make the playoffs, so they've got to be the more desperate team. I agree with you.
So when you look at signing day coming up, Jeff, I want to ask you this. I was thinking about this earlier today. And I know you're not the biggest recruiting guy in the world, obviously. What was the one play when you think of recruiting? When you think back to your days as a fan, either before you became a journalist or when you started out in the late 90s, who's the one recruit that you think of that, man, I was so fired up about? Like you couldn't wait to hear what he did. You were so excited that he signed with Florida State. Who's the one guy?
All right. So I would say it was the running back that I asked you about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago that I completely always forget about. It was the kid that ended up going to UCF.
Marquette Smith.
Yeah, him. He was the guy that everybody talked about. And
it was a big deal because Derek Brooks was Defensive Player of the Year, and I think he was the Offensive Player of the Year. USA Today. And so you were getting both the –
No, I loved him. And I thought that was going to be the kid I was so excited about. But I think, you got to go back a time. So for me, in the early days, so I was at Florida State, 91, 92, 93, 94. So I transferred from East Tennessee State. I had the opportunity to go to games prior to that because of my father. So we were going to games back in the early 80s, 81, 82. In recruiting, you just learned about recruiting through these other means. You didn't know, and then this kid would arrive on campus and people would be like, oh, well, that's a big deal. So somebody brought up Dan Kendra. Dan Kendra was on the front cover of Sports Illustrated with his alligator. And I can still remember thinking that was a big deal that he was coming to us instead of Penn State because of where he was from. And he was built like a brick shithouse. So you thought this guy has to be special. I was actually at the spring game where he got hurt. So Kendra's a good one. But it was not my thing. It was not my thing. It was years later. I would say that Cromartie was a big deal. Cromartie was a really big deal. I remember thinking about, like, nobody looks like that. Nobody's that big, that tall, that long. Nobody should run like that, looking like that.
These couple of people mentioned Georgia Ron and Dr. Walton 7 here mentioned Xavier Lee. I'm going to talk about Xavier Lee a little bit here, Jeff, while you watch this situation.
Well, I want you to talk about Xavier Lee, because this is an interesting conversation about who a guy is, how much he loves football, his ability, wrong time, wrong place, all of it.
What was funny is, so when Xavier came, I remember we were out at practice, and I got here right after Xavier in that class signed. And when they came as freshmen, I remember Xavier Lee. This is actually really funny. We're at practice. We're on the practice fields. It's summer. It was either summer workouts when the freshmen arrived. I think it was right before preseason camp started. And Xavier at the time, like, Warchant was it. I mean, that was the only recruiting site. I mean, so Gene was the recruiting guy. And so from FSU standpoint. And so Xavier had read on the message boards where people were doubting. He had said he could throw 70 yards, throw the football for 70 yards. And he had seen,
like, from his knee, right?
And he had seen on the message boards where people were saying, no, he can't do that. He can't do that. So I remember we're standing there at the practice fields, and he calls Gene. He's like, Gene, come over here. And he's like, do you have a camera? Do you have a video camera? Do you have a camera? He's like, I want to show them I can do it. So he gets down on one knee on the practice fields to throw a football 70 yards to prove. So they have somebody go down to the other 30 and let him do it. And he did it. It was just, but it's just funny to me that the time that was, because again,
it was the biggest thing in the world.
It was, I mean, he was like an urban legend.
4th and 2 on the 5, Ira. 4th and 2 on the 5. The whole game is on the line.
We're all going to get to watch Jeff Cameron.
No. The Bills have decided to kick a field goal to tie it up.
Oh, come on, Bills. You're going to beat Tom Brady in overtime?
So here you go. 25 seconds to play, 4th and 2. They're kicking a field goal to tie it up. The kick is up, and he made it. Tied at 27. So the Bills have outscored the Bucs in the second half 20-0, I do believe. And that is an embarrassing turn of events for Tampa Bay, who had the Bills beat by 50.
I like
Christ. Anyhow,
anyway,
on to overtime.
Xavier was a huge deal, and
Xavier Lee was. By the way, well,
I was going to say, to your point, and I think Xavier would admit this today. He didn't understand what all, I mean, it was just like he was a kid. He was really kind of an immature kind of kid when he came to Florida State. And so he was enjoying being a college football player.
Oh, yes, he was.
He was enjoying himself. And so, and to his, not fair to him, the staff was not in a good place. And then after he comes in, you bring in Jimbo, who's a completely different guy. And it is, I mean, man, Jimbo's Jimbo. And Xavier's not ready for that. So it's just a crazy situation. I mean, the whole thing was, I'd like to think maybe if he was in a better situation, just like we've talked about with Ricks and other quarterbacks of that era, that things might have worked out better. But, man, Xavier's doing well. He's got a beautiful family. He's doing well in business. Good guy. Comes around the program. So he's doing okay. But it with his natural ability, it would have been cool to see what he could do.
I was at practice, I think his first year, and he made a pass, Ira, on a play. He rolled to his right. I was down on the sideline. He made a throw to his left side across his body, probably one of the hardest throws you ever have to make, 40 yards, a flick of the wrist, and hit. I don't remember who he hit, but he hit somebody right in stride. And I went on the air the next day and said I had never seen a Florida State quarterback with a better arm. I don't regret saying that. I feel like it was the best arm I had ever seen. I think Xavier Lee, physically, could have been one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I've never seen an athlete who looked like that, who had that kind of arm talent, who was that big and that strong. You're right to say that he came to Florida State at a terrible time. The coaching staff was in total disarray. Bobby was well on his way to being done. There were a lot of things wrong with the team, but nobody was as talented as Xavier Lee. Unfortunately, Xavier also didn't give a shit about football. And listen, man, if I looked like Xavier Lee and I was at the club and the ladies were, he had a good time. He had a good time while he was here.
He sure did. We all could be envious.
He had a good time.
somebody asked about a question about recruiting. Yeah, we talked a little bit about recruiting at the very beginning. That's not our strong suit, but it was a good weekend for Florida State. They had some really big time recruits on campus. Julian Armella, number 1 offensive tackle. He won't be announcing until Wednesday. Florida State seems to be in good shape there. His mom came on the visit. She seemed to love it. Azaria Thomas, defensive back, 4-star defensive back from Niceville, came and visited. Seemed to have a really good time. He's down to 3 or 4 schools. And the other schools he's considering have had coaching changes and disappointing seasons. So Florida State could be in pretty good shape there. They also had an Oregon transfer receiver, Micah Pittman, was on campus today. They had a JUCO defensive back to visit as well, but it didn't sound like, talking to Michael, he didn't seem to think Florida State was in great shape with that one. And they had a commitment, Daniel Lyons, who's committed already, visit as well. So they had a good group of kids for the official visits this weekend. And there's stories about all of that at warchant.com. If you want to read more, just go over to Warchant. You can read all those stories.
Yeah, so I just I was looking up Micah Pittman.
Yeah.
I was looking up all these guys. Listen, I become a fanboy like everybody else right now. So I see where Austin's updating people. I see where Michael Langston's updating people. Warchant.com, baby. And I'm not even being a whore. I'm just letting you know. If you want anything, let's go. Let's go. That's where it's at. Because I'm like everybody else at this point, Ira. I'm a fan, man. I desperately want to see the Noles do well here. I think they have a chance to do a great job. I also am excited about the transfer portal. So December 15th can't get here fast enough, I think, for a lot of us. And I can't wait for Wednesday's coverage. We're going to have a good time. And I'm going to spend all day Tuesday immersing myself with who's who, where are they, what's what matters, what doesn't. I know the numbers. I already know the numbers of what we need and what I'm looking to see. But I'm going to know backwards and forwards who everybody is, where they're from, whether or not they're wavering, so that when we go on the air on Wednesday at 1 o'clock for the Jeff Cameron Show, as we build on the all-day coverage of Warchant TV, I am educated and ready to go. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, right now they have, I think, 16 commitments. They also have one transfer who is already in, so that's planning to come as well. And so I don't think they're not going to have, they're in the running, obviously, for Marvin Jones Jr., they're in the running for Najali Kelly. They're in the running.
Can I ask you about that? I mean,
yes.
I have some sources, and I've talked to them about Marvin Jones Jr. Do we feel like that's a lost cause, or do you think that's possible?
I don't think it's a lost cause, but I think there's a lot of concern. I mean, there's a lot of concern that he's going to go to Bama. And at no point during this process, he made it very clear, Marvin Sr. made it very clear to them from the very beginning, this wasn't going to be his decision, and it wasn't going to be based on what he did at Florida State. It was going to be more about his kid and what his kid wanted to do. And I'm sure it's hard to turn down Alabama, especially with all that they can offer in terms of NIL and support above the table now compared to back in the old days. So, we'll have to see. I don't think Florida State's out of it. But it's going to be tough to beat Alabama. There's no question. I do think they're in good shape with Armella. I think they're in good shape with, some of these other kids. But I don't think they're going to sign. I mean, I wrote something the other day about them trying to get to, if they can get to 30 or 32 players overall, I think they'd love to get to maybe 20 high school players or 20 or 22. And this is just me guessing based on what we know about the roster. And then maybe have 10 or 12 transfers. You don't want 24 high school players and only 7 or 8 transfers. They need to get a lot of transfers, and I think that market's going to start heating up here over the next several weeks.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. I wonder what the feel is for those players on the market. I mean, to me, it's imperative that you get a bunch of grown-ass men with a lot of playing time experience to come in here and play good football right off the bat. I think to me, you can worry about the high school kids and that being the basis of what you do once you flip a roster with competitive talent on the frontline starters. And I think Florida State's so far away and they're losing so much on that defensive line. So I'm so scared about that. I mean, I think they've got to find kids that come in right away who can come in and play big. We got lucky this year, Florida State. We got lucky this year. To have Akir Thomas, to have Jermaine Johnson, that doesn't happen. That's not normal.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. But I also think that there's some other players that are getting better while that was happening. For example, a defensive line, a guy that we don't.
By the way, Ira, Buck's got to stop. Buck's got the ball in overtime.
Let's go.
Yes.
Sorry. if Tom Brady doesn't do something here, I'm starting to wonder if he's really.
Starting to wonder whether or not he's any good at all.
I'm curious about this guy.
What are we doing here, Tom?
Perry asked if it's going to be a top 10 class. I mean, probably not. Just because, again, I don't know that the numbers are going to be where they need to be. Right there, they're right outside of it. If they could get, Julian Armello would help. He's a 5-star guy, number 1 offensive tackle. If you got Marvin Jones, obviously that would be a huge deal. But if they're not going to get him, then I think it's going to be tougher. But I mean, if it's a top 15 class with a 5-7 record in year 2 of a program, I don't think you can be too upset about it.
So Kevin Coleman, anything you know about that? Are we worried about?
Miami? He visited Miami, and so had a good time down there, obviously, and so Florida State's felt really pretty good about their chances all along, but I don't know that it's a foregone conclusion either way. I mean, I think he's another one of those guys that, man, it would be huge if they landed him, but it wouldn't shock me if they weren't able to. I'm curious to see, what the, kind of chatter is in Miami right now, because they haven't named an offensive coordinator yet. So, I mean, if you're a wide receiver, you might be interested in Cristobal. He's not a Miami guy, but you might be interested in what they're doing. But you also don't even know who their offensive coordinator is going to be yet. So I don't know. I don't know that would be. You could have a good time in Miami and still not decide that's where you want to spend your next 4 years.
So, do you? Well, I mean, I got to be careful how I word this. I think all year long, I was concerned about Marv. I was concerned about what I was seeing or not seeing in recruiting. We go back to the first, beginning of this show. We were talking about Randy Shannon. Do you think that's an upgrade?
I do. I mean, I really do. I mean, I
think it's an upgrade too, Ira. The reason I wanted to circle back, I'm sorry to interrupt. The reason I wanted to circle back is I don't want people to get the wrong impression. I've never been impressed schematically from Randy Shannon, but I do think in terms of his knowledge and his ability to recruit South Florida, I do think it's an upgrade. And I've not been a big Marv guy, so sorry. I just want to.
I do think, and I agree with you. And I think it's an upgrade, and I think he's a good fit for the staff. Somebody asked earlier on the chat, and I didn't catch who asked it, but they asked, if they're co-defense coordinators, who's going to be calling the plays? Who's going to be designing the defense? I mean, I think that's going to be Adam Fuller calling the plays. I just think that usually the back end, whoever's kind of running the secondary, a lot of times now is the guy that's has to make makes the play calls. Randy Shannon's going to be really involved in that. He already has been really involved in that. And I think what was important here was if you weren't going to make a change with Adam Fuller, but you were going to bring somebody else on the staff and try to give them some authority, the great thing about this situation is they do get along really well. And when Randy Shannon came in last summer as an analyst, and he just came in as a very humble guy, just trying to help. I mean, he was a perfect fit. And Adam Fuller, a lot of times the defensive coordinator will be intimidated bringing a guy like Randy Shannon on the staff, and he wasn't. I mean, they've gotten along really well. So I think it's going to be a really joint effort from those two. My guess would be that Fuller will be the guy calling the plays. But to your point about Shannon, the way he called defenses back in Miami, and I agree with you, it was very vanilla. It was cover 2, but it was also he had better players. So it's not like he didn't need to go out and be just reinvent defensive football. That's all I'm saying. It's Mickey Andrews didn't either, but maybe if he didn't have those defensive ends.
Yeah, I would say Randy didn't have Mickey's players, though. I mean, like Randy as a head coach failed.
Oh, as head coach for sure. No,
as a head coach, he failed, and he did not make a lot of adjustments. That's all I'm saying. But I mean, that's a different deal. Like that's an assessment of a head coach. So that's fair of you to say. Yeah. No, listen, I think the communication process, I think the ability to relate to players and get down to South Florida and help out there, that'll be huge. Absolutely huge. Listen.
We're getting spammed in our chat here. Matthew's got to help us out here.
I didn't know that. Long throw down the line. That's got to be interference, right? They're going to call this. They're going to call interference. Thank you. There you go, Buffalo, you cheating asses. There we go. We got a little interference call on Buffalo. They're all over Evans. It's been clear the refs have been cheating in favor of Buffalo this whole game.
And then we had a couple questions about Mario Cristobal. Man, what are your thoughts on the Cristobal regime?
Well, you know what I thought about Ira? I thought to myself, when I heard Mario Cristobal break out the Spanish during the press conference, I thought, we're fucked for all those 5-star Cuban players that we see come out every year. You know, they're all over the place.
There are some.
And then I realized, oh, no, wait, they don't exist. So that's all right. That's all right. Oh, wow, come on. I'm not stereotyping. I don't know, man. I think he's the right hire. I think he's a guy that he understands what you have to do down there. He understands the importance of putting the fence up around South Florida. And we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, and whether or not he can do that is another question. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about the fact that Miami bothered to care and invest and sink some money into the program. It looked like for a long time, Ira, that they were not going to do that. So, yeah, that's disconcerting.
The Panama Jack mentioned the transfer kid Verse that was here over the weekend. Yeah, they had a defensive end who also visited from University of Albany or Albany University, who's looking to transfer. Redshirt freshman, had 4 sacks and I think 10 tackles for loss as a redshirt freshman. And good-looking kid physically. He was on campus this weekend, and there's Florida State's in the running for him as well.
Ira, 5:47 to play. Bucks at the 45, 3rd and 3. Brady back to pass. He's got time, and he throws. The ball is caught there to the 40, to the 30, to the 20, to the 10, to the 5. Suck it, Buffalo. Suck it. Your game is over. Get you some. Woo!
No flags on the field.
No flags on the field. Bucks win. Get it. Get it, Buffalo.
All right. So maybe this Brady guy's all right. Maybe he's got something. There's something to him.
Oh, man. Yeah, there's nothing but heartbreak on the field for Buffalo. You can see them weeping. Their playoff dreams are escaping. Tampa Bay wins. Tom Brady with a long touchdown pass. Forget about it. What a beautiful game. What a beautiful game.
We're going to talk a little prize picks?
Yeah. So I got a bunch of them, and that one just landed. I had Brady over 275. So, woo! There we go. Let me pull up my prize picks for you, Ira. My picks, my entries. Here we go. Rob Gronkowski, I had over 47.5 yards. He had 62 today. I do have him coupled with Kyler Murray tomorrow at over 250 passing yards. Now, I have other entries. Let me look back at this. I had Brian Edwards for Las Vegas under 29 yards. He had 24 yards. He sucks. I coupled that with Tyreek Hill over 73 yards. Tyreek had 76. I just cashed it in for $50, and I've got 2 more entries still going. So what do you got, Ira?
Tonight in the Sunday night game, I'm going Justin Fields over, and Justin Fields in passing over 167.5. And I'm also, I'm bullish. I'm bullish on them. I'm going David Montgomery over 60.5 yards rushing. So
okay, I like it.
I'm fading the Packers defense tonight.
All right, so I probably spoke too fast for Matthew to pull up all my picks. I was rapid firing that thing.
Yeah, you were rifling them through. I also don't know if he can pull up previous because they already went.
No. I had So I got good job, Matthew. Though I don't know if you want to go back and celebrate my victories. We could do that together.
But to any of the viewers, prizepicks.com is the website. You can do your fantasy matchups and, do some of these things. It's not just NFL. They got NBA, other sports as well. And in fact, when I pulled it up today to make my picks, NBA was the first thing that came up, and I started getting interested, but then I was like, man, there's just so many NBA games, man. I don't know if I'm devoted. You need to spend a little more time. NHL, what are we doing?
But I do some serious NHL stuff. By the way, friends, let me just tell you, friends, Prize Picks is really cool. Go to prizepicks.com and do this thing. First of all, like you guys, you get a sense for over-unders. You get a sense for, matchups and weather and everything else. So last week, for example, against Indianapolis, I had Mike Evans under 60 yards receiving. He had 15. I had Jalen Hurts under 190 yards passing. He had 129. So I cashed in 20 for 40 because that's the kind of man I am. So I'm just saying, like, that's all out there for you. I pull up all my past bets. It's all good.
And you can you get the deposit match. If you make a deposit, they'll match 100% of it if you use the Warchant promo code. So, all right, well, congratulations on the Bucks win, man. That's
yeah. I'm gonna apologize to the people on the Sunday Smash. Ira was a pro. I was not. It was so much a byproduct of the Bucks fucking this game up and going to overtime.
I feel like you should get, when you win a game in overtime, you should get like bonus points or something. Like there should be some extra credit. Although
so we get 2 wins, we get a win and a half.
Although when you blow a 21-point lead,
when you blow a 21-point lead, maybe, I don't think you get any credit. Maybe you lose a half point.
You think and who's to blame for them? Like, is Brady yelling at people in the locker room? Like, man, you guys made me play another 7 minutes of football, or are they blaming him because the offense didn't do anything in the second half?
No, I don't think any of that's true. Brady probably walked in and said, guys, that's it. This is the catalyst. This is us going to the Super Bowl. You just played the most desperate team in the league. They had to have a win. This is a team that has found themselves puking all over themselves every week. They lost to the Jaguars. They're an embarrassment. They battled back, and now you found a way to reach down deep, get a stop, and we went down and I threw a touchdown pass because that's what I do.
Hey, we should make fun of Urban Meyer real quick. We've got a couple minutes left.
My goodness gracious. So what I don't like about this, Ira, and, it seriously bothers me. That guy's a fraud. He's a bad person. He's a bad human being. He's a guy that obviously had great success in college, but he's a terrible, terrible person. And he's a miserable failure now in the NFL. His players hate him. It's obvious. And what happens is that they're grown men working to provide for their family. So they're not gonna buy into his bullshit. They know he's a fraud. They know he's bullshit. And that guy's gonna get fired at the end of this year. They're gonna go 2-14. He may have ruined that kid's career at quarterback. I don't care anything about him because, I hate Clemson, but it sucks for him. I mean, he's ruined him, and he's going to get paid millions of dollars to walk away.
That's the frustrating thing is it's almost like he's been just trying to get fired, and it's not going to matter because he's going to go back and do TV for a few years.
And nobody should listen to him. Nobody.
But they will. And he's, it's frustrating. What a bad hire. And it didn't make any sense. That was one of the things that, again, I heard, I can't remember who it was. It might have been the guy that, Louis Riddick. I think it was Louis Riddick that was talking about it earlier in the year when he was saying, the thing about these college coaches is so much of college coaching is recruiting. And that's how you get the great advantage to go into games with so much more talent than anybody you're playing against. At this level, you don't have that. And so it's really all about what you can do from a coaching preparation standpoint. And now everybody's got equal pieces. Sometimes you're going against teams with slightly better pieces. What can you do in that situation? And Urban, I think, clearly found out pretty early on that wasn't his cup of tea.
So Trevor Lawrence is through 4 picks today. Looked like he's beaten down and absolutely lost. And we'll see. Like so much of think about the difference between. I'm not saying, listen, I don't want to not give credit to somebody, but hold on for a second. Imagine if Trevor Lawrence goes to New England and Mac Jones goes to Jacksonville.
Right. Same. Yeah, you just flip their careers.
Let's be honest about what just happened there, right? So Matt goes to New England. They don't ask him to win games. We're going to run the ball, check down, get better and better, learn the offense. We'll start giving you more things as the year goes on. Just figure it out. Trevor's got to be a savior. And his coach is a baby. And so, like, here you're stuck. And right off the bat, he makes a mockery of the system by bringing in a clown like Tebow. So Tebow comes in, and, people say, like, so what? So you bring Tebow in to sell tickets. No, man. Think about the guy that's worked his ass off his whole life to be in the NFL, to play tight end, to bust his ass and have a shot. You're going to give that guy a roster spot in practice over somebody else who's a legit player? What message are you sending to those players immediately? So there's no way that, like, from day one, that guy didn't humiliate himself. Then he's caught on camera, and then he lies about it. Then he tells all of them with a straight face that, I went to visit the grandkids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, come on, man. And these are grown-ups. These are grown men. So, no, it's that guy's reputation should be sullied forever.
It should be, but again, I mean, I just have a feeling that within a year he's going to be on ESPN, and they're going to act like he's Urban Meyer, one of the greatest, football coaches of all time. That's the only thing that bothers me. Is he's going to get the money, he's going to go hide out for a year, and then he's going to go back on TV, and they're going to act like, again, he's this legend of coaching.
You just wish that somebody didn't care, somebody who was like at their wits' end, and they were sitting there across from him and go, you're a fucking clown. Right. Like, just say it and see what. And again, that's easier said than done, because the second you do that, you're fired. So I get it. I mean, I get it. Sorry.
All right, man. Well, good win. Good win for your Bucks. I'm glad we were all here to soak it up and enjoy it.
Thanks for putting up with me. Thanks to Matthew. Thanks to all of you guys. Peace out. We'll talk to you soon. So no Sunday Smash next week. I think we're all on our way. Maybe no Sunday Smash next week. I don't know if we're doing it or not. There may be one more.
We'll check it out here.
Yeah, we'll check it out. We'll figure it out. But we'll let you all know. Be good, everybody. Peace.